Kubnaya, meaning swift light. The elders were uneasy, but the jungle had its own law. Those who walk together in peace, eat together in peace. So they did. Under Mata's guidance, Ru trained in the ancient ways, not the ways of men, for none remained to teach him, but the ways of the jungle. How to climb silently and sleep hidden in the trees, how to sense danger in the air before it showed its fangs, how to call birds with a whistle made from hollow bark. How to read the marks of passing creatures in soft mud or snapped branches. He learned to respect the jungle gods, spirits that lived in the mountains, the rivers, the storms, and the sky. At night, the tribe told stories of the first creatures, shaped by gods from root and bone. They spoke of fire with fear, of man with warning, and of a lion that once roared so loud the mountains shook and never forgot his voice. Ru listened, though he never spoke. He often wondered if he was one of those spirits cast out, forgotten. One evening, as stars opened their eyes and the moon floated high, Ru climbed to the highest ledge of the cliffs. Alone, he looked out at the jungle stretching endlessly below, dark, breathing, whispering. Then he looked down at his hands. Not paws, not claws, just hands. He rubbed them together, as if trying to erase the difference. Below, the apes howled in song. He closed his eyes and hummed, not like them, but soft, low, from a place he didn't understand. He didn't know it yet, but that was his first song, the beginning of a voice that one day the jungle would remember. Jungleborn Act 1. Scene 3. The Outsiders returned. Cinematic prose. Scene duration, approximately 10 to 12 mins. The jungle had rules, unwritten, unspoken, older than any claw, tusk, or crown, and one rule was absolute. Where man walks, silence follows it. Began with scent. On a morning heavy with heat and restless birdsong, Ru noticed it first, a bitter temps in the air, dry like ash, sharp like rusted metal. Not a predator's musk, not a rotting carcass, something alien. He crouched on a moss-covered ridge, eyes scanning the canopy, ears twitching. Naya sniffed the ground beside him, her fur bristling. Rava swung down from a branch, nose wrinkled. Something stinks, the young ape muttered. Not beast, not storm. Ru said nothing. He only pointed toward the horizon, where a thin line of smoke curled above the trees like a raised finger from the gods. Later that evening, as the sun bled red behind the canopy, the tribe gathered on the high, stone terrace to watch the sky. Smoke still rose, slow, steady, like breath, too distant to touch, but too deliberate to ignore. Mata stood tall beside the fire pit, the flickering light casting long shadows across his silver fur. His face was tight with memory. This is how it began. Before, he said softly, the others stirred. Cora growled low. The two-legged ones. She spat. They returned. You said they were gone, hissed a younger male. No, Mata said. I said they had forgotten us. That night, Ru could not sleep. The wind carried strange sounds, rhythmic pounding, metal against wood, crackling fire. Somewhere far beyond the cliffs, the jungle was being cut. He left his sleeping ledge and climbed down in silence. Nia followed without being asked, her paws silent as mist. Together they slipped into the undergrowth. They moved through the ancient paths like shadows, past gnarled roots and tangled vines, beneath owl wings and oversleeping snakes. No light, no sound but breath dot by moonrise. They reached a slope overlooking a wide clearing. What they saw froze them. Humans, 5 of them, maybe 6. Hard to count through the trees. They had tools, long sticks that gleamed in the firelight, some sharp like spears, others strange and hollow. They wore skins not of animal but of cloth, woven tight and colorless. At the center of the camp, fire roared in a stone ring. It licked the air like a hungry beast. Sparks floated like fireflies around it, but the fire wasn't what held Ru's gaze. It was the man. He sat closest to the flame, older than the others, hair streaked with white, eyes alert and narrow. He spoke in short, clipped words, pointing toward a map he drew in the dirt with a stick. Ru leaned forward, curiosity pulsing. The man's face. Something about it tugged at his chest. Was it recognition? Suddenly a twig snapped beneath Nia's paw. The sound was barely a breath, but the man stood. He raised a hand. The camp went silent. Ru held his breath. The man stepped toward the jungle's edge, squinting into the darkness. A heartbeat passed. Then another. He turned back. No animals, he muttered. Just ghosts. Ru and Nia melted into the shadows. They didn't stop running until they were deep in the heart of the jungle again. When they finally slowed, Nia let out a low growl, more confused than angry. But Ru sat in the roots of an old tree, staring at his own hands again, those same hands the man had used to draw on the earth. Fingers, nails, skin, hair. Theirs. His breath trembled. He had never felt more a part of the jungle, and yet never more apart from it. The next morning he said nothing, but when Mata looked at him, he nodded slowly, a silent confirmation. The humans had returned and Ru had seen them, not as ghosts but as mirrors. Jungleborn Act I'd seen for the Forbidden Ruined. Cinematic prose. Scene duration, 10 to 12 mins. The jungle was not a book, it was a memory, carved not in ink, but in root and rain and ruin. Ru stood before Mata at dawn, fists clenched, eyes unwavering. "I need to know," he said. It was not the first time, but it was the first time he said it aloud. Marta, who had raised him, who had taught him the ways of silence and soil, met his gaze. The